Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I will be giving my honest first impressions review for the new open-world medieval fantasy RPG, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. This game is a dark fantasy open-world RPG packed to the gills with unique quests, varied loot, monstrous enemies, and a choice-based story, all set on a bleak island in an alternate telling of Arthurian legend. And as a quick TLDR, I quite enjoy it, and want to make this video short so I can get back to playing it, so let's not waste any time. But before we get into the meat of the review, a quick word from this video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Factor, the convenient, delicious, affordable way to eat hot meals at home on a regular basis. Factor delivers fresh, ready-made meals right to your door. They offer anywhere from 4 to 18 meals a week, and for these meals you choose from a menu of 27 different meals with over 34 add-on options. With keto, calorie smart, vegetarian, and even vegan options, the Factor menu is right for everyone. So if you want to start having delicious and convenient food at home, or to support the channel, use the link in my description or go to gofactor75.com and use promo code FACTORSE33233 for 50% off your first box, and start enjoying some great food soon. So again, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, despite being a very long and cumbersome name for a game, is also a fairly solid experience right out of the gate. It is an early access title developed by Questline and published by Awaken Realms. That being said, while playing it, which I have been doing for about 15 hours so far, I frequently forgot that it was early access. There are a few things about the game that I believe have some serious area for improvement, and we will get to them later, but for the most part, I have been having a blast with this game. The game plays a lot like Elder Scrolls, and I think it wears the influence on its sleeves. However, unlike many Skyrim clones, this one doesn't feel like a cheap imitation. More like an homage to a lot of the best elements of the Elder Scrolls, and an improvement on many others. The world exploration, storylines, skill leveling systems, and even the basic quest structure all feel very Elder Scrolls-esque. And for someone like me who loves the Elder Scrolls, and has been let down by Bethesda's 2-decade release schedule, this game is actually a breath of fresh air. The combat in this game felt a little weird at first, and I was worried that I was going to hate it. Then I realized that it wasn't unresponsive or janky, just very accuracy, timing, and stamina based. Once I figured all of this out, and got used to parrying and utilizing my natural space, I actually fell in love with the combat system. It starts basic, in that you can use standard attacks, heavy attacks, and blocking. However, there is a lot of nuance in your heavy attacks and how much damage they deal, based on how much your build-up is for the attack, where you attack from, and stuff like that. But you also have limited stamina and can't hold it forever. The blocking is standard. Hold up your shield to block an attack. You will lose stamina, but it will block much of the damage that you would have taken. But figure out how to parry, and you are set, as that takes no stamina, blocks all the damage, and drains your opponent's stamina. That is, of course, all pertinent information for the melee combat in the game, which is only about a third of what you can do. The game also has magic and archery. The archery I have tested a fair bit, and quite enjoy it. The bows are all easy to use, and ammo is fairly simple to come by. Bow shots aren't instant kills, or at least most of the time they're not, but it is a fairly effective form of combat if used correctly, and so if you wanted to do an archer build, or maybe even a famous stealth archer build, you really can make that work in this game. I've not yet tried magic, as it is actually my least favorite form of combat in pretty much any game I've ever played, but it certainly does exist in this game, and at some point I will surely test it just to see what it's like. But if you're a fan of magic, it is here. The world is not immense, so it's not massive like a lot of games where they just have giant worlds way out of proportion to the amount of content in the game. This map is not like that, but it is actually pretty dang big. So far, I have not discovered any mounts to speed up travel, but there are fast travel points all around the map which you unlock by approaching them, and they make long distance trips much less of a hassle. That being said, the world is fairly populated. There are a lot of enemies on this map, but not everyone you encounter will be one. And most people that can be talked to either offer a lot of information about the world, or interesting unique perspectives or stories that make them feel like more than just background NPCs. And that is outside of the majority of them who will actually have quests for you to complete. From ones as simple as delivering flowers to a grieving refugee, or investigating the wrongful death of an accused thief, to hunting down a notorious bandit and killing them. Needless to say, I am actually fairly impressed by the scale and quality of the world thus far. Leveling up is done by activity, so one-handed increases by dealing damage with one-handed weapons. Sneak levels up by sneaking. Thieving levels up by picking locks. you get the idea. You level up skills by practicing them, which is always my favorite way for RPGs to work. Outside of that, there are skill and attribute levels. So as you level up, you can put points into your basic traits like strength or endurance, and you will also get points to spend on specific skills, like one that allows you to carry more weight in your backpack. It is a system that balances my need for RPG customization without getting overly complex and needlessly cumbersome. The story so far is very interesting. Full disclosure, I am not super far into the main story, as I love to explore side activities and all the quests in a game like this. But so far, what I have experienced has been great. It is a very unique take on the King Arthur mythos, and for someone such as myself who is actually very familiar with Arthurian literature, it is great. I love the way that they use a lot of elements from the stories we know and love, but the story itself is like nothing we have ever seen in several thousand years of Arthurian legend. I don't plan on spoiling anything here, but suffice it to say, you are not going to be seeing King Arthur pull the sword out of the stone and use it to unite Logres against the Saxons and lead them to victory on Badon Hill. I will quickly summarize the story of the game as the developers have described it so you know what to expect out of this game, but this won't spoil anything. King Arthur is long dead and all the myths and legends are falling. Humans living in Avalon are desperately trying to find new ways of life and things to believe in. The plague of Red Death and the spreading Wyrdness are not helping. Time is running out and multiple factions have their own plan for the future of the island. In this realm, slowly but surely sinking into chaos, you find yourself imprisoned in a damp underground cell. At this point, you're nobody. But who knows? You might just be the one who brings a spark of change to this land of everlasting autumn. So that's how the game starts, and I know, another game starting you off in a prison cell. But, to be fair, it is a very effective way to start a game like this, as it is easy to set a blank slate nobody when they start off in jail. The beginning section works as a tutorial and introduction to the world, but it is not annoyingly hand-holding, and I started having fun basically immediately, which is nice. I hate when games have a painfully slow start, and you need to slowly pace through it before being allowed to actually play the game. Luckily, The Fall of Avalon is not like that. Once you've made your way out of the prison, the world is pretty much your oyster. You do get to customize your characters, so that's fun. It's not crazy detailed like a lot of games, but it is enough to make it feel like you, or at least like you want it to look. And there are actually tons of different weapons and armor to fit your fashion style as well as your playstyle, so customization of your character is a decent part of the game. But so far, I think my favorite part of the game is the freedom of choice you get from quests and dialogue. Basically, most of the NPCs in the game, or at least all of the quest givers, which is most of them, can either become friends or enemies depending how you talk to them, and if you help them or not. I like that you are given the choice to play the game the way you want, and having it affect the story in a somewhat meaningful way. And, I know, I have been comparing the game to Elder Scrolls a lot, and that is fair since it really is a lot like them. However, that isn't all that this game is. I would say the game is about 50% Elder Scrolls, 20% Dark Souls, and 30% unique and new, which is honestly a very good blend. The game has a lot of basic open-world RPG elements like Elder Scrolls games, but also has some pretty epic bosses and a more nuanced and skill-based combat system like Dark Souls. But it doesn't feel like a clone. I think they've struck a great balance and the game works really well for what it is. I do have a few things that I wanted to note, as they are things that I do not love about the game. The first is movement speed. Like I said earlier, I have not discovered any sort of mount system, so as far as I know, the main mode of transportation in this game is walking. And this is fine until you realize how easy it is to get overburdened, and then you are basically crawling everywhere. And this wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the armor you were wearing didn't affect this, but it does. As far as I can tell, if you get your weapon and armor load up to the medium range, you can no longer run at all, so you're just stuck at walking speed all of the time. This drives me nuts, as someone who knows that knights in full plate armor could run or even sprint fully loaded, and therefore it really should be possible in the game. So I would recommend a change to that system, as slowly crawling around the map really hurts the pacing and the story of the game, and it's honestly an easy fix. If you want to create an incentive for going lightly armored, then just have running cost stamina, and adjust the drain rate to the load of the character. Fixed. Outside of that, there is only one other thing that has bugged me so far, and it is the movement itself. The game is a first-person game, which is fine. I personally actually prefer it that way, and pretty much always choose first-person when I have the choice. However, it feels very floaty. When you're walking around, it's more like you're gliding a foot off the ground, as the screen doesn't really move, and it just feels less like I'm in the game and more like I'm an over-the-shoulder camera just floating along next to the protagonist. If you angle all the way down, you can't actually see your feet or legs, so it does feel like the character you play as just isn't present at all. I'm sure that this is a technical limitation, but personally, I really don't like it, and would love to see that changed. But that is honestly it. I have those 2 complaints, but outside of that, the game has been really great. It is scratching the itch I had for a new Elder Scrolls-like, and even a little bit of that post-Elden Ring Dark Souls fever. The story is interesting. The mechanics are mostly very sound. The world is interesting and feels alive, at least a lot more so than most games these days. And most of all, it is a unique experience that feels like it has a goal, and was made by people who actually play video games, and not a bland corporate experience dreamed up by a board of boomers who have never enjoyed a game in their life. And that is why I honestly love it as much as I do. So, as far as the question, should you buy it? I see no reason not to. If you like dark fantasy, or open world games, or medieval fantasy RPGs, then you will likely enjoy this game. The content will not change, so the game is the full experience at launch. The developers have assured me of this. So unlike many early access titles, you are getting the full game at launch. It will just be getting updated and polished regularly. So I don't even have to put my usual early access caveat into this recommendation. Not since Valheim has an indie game impressed me this much, and I really hope you enjoy the game as much as I do. The link for this game will be in the video's description, as well as the link for today's sponsor. I recommend you check them both out. This game is a joy to play, and the sponsor is actually one that I quite enjoy as well. The food is pretty tasty and super convenient, and when you figure out the costs of eating out or fast food, it's also a pretty great affordable alternative. Plus, as a cherry on top, you do get a huge discount for using my code. Plus, they'll kick me some money for each one of you that orders from them using the code I supplied. So it's a win-win all around. But that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it enlightening. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.